Howdy guys, Jimmy Song here. In this video, I'm going to talk about keeping up appearances because that is something that I have noticed about the current system that is highly inefficient, yet it is something that a lot of people and companies especially spend a lot of money on. Now, keeping up appearances, how I define it is something like making it look like one thing when the reality is something else. You see this all the time in sort of companies that you find out later engage in all sorts of fraud and stuff like that. A lot of people, for example, they make it look like they have a lot of money when in fact they're in a lot of debt and so on. It's sort of like keeping up particular types of appearances for the sake of I don't know, impressing others or whatever. And this tends to happen a lot in debt driven economies, which fiat economies all are. And it's that you have the option of going into debt in order to sort of live a good life now instead of sort of saving for later. In a sound money economy, interest rates tend to be much higher because it's really sound money and people don't want to lose it. So people tend to not have access to the super cheap loans and certainly not companies to be able to sort of fake it for a while. Unfortunately, this is very common, especially with companies and with rich people, where you can sort of fake things for a very long time. And we saw this with WeWork, for example. They kept faking stuff and making it look like things were all okay when in fact it wasn't. They were cooking the books in all sorts of ways. They were engaging in all sorts of fraud. And again, this happens because of the debt-driven economy that we're in. You have all of these like super cheap loans that are only really available to giant companies and very rich people, and they're able to expend all this effort on keeping up an appearance instead of building the actual thing. And this is very detrimental to society because that's a lot of resources that are going into essentially lying to other people and making it look one way when it's actually another, and that's a very sad reality. Now, that's not to say that people like do certain things to make it look like they're a little more successful than not. I mean, like that's why you wear like a nice suit or something to an interview, and maybe have a slightly nicer car so you can impress the right people. Maybe get a nicer office. All that stuff. Appearances matter to some degree, but keeping up appearances. This is all about sort of deceiving people far beyond like sort of what your actual condition is, and this is a lot of waste. And like when you have big companies, they spend an enormous amount of time, effort, and money on stuff like that, which is essentially wasted, right? Like because it doesn't actually improve the product underneath, doesn't improve anything else. It's at best like sort of like a secondary benefit. Maybe you attract a big account because you faked it until you made it or something like that. Anyway, that's one of the things that Bitcoin really fixes. Hope that helps you. This song is